And all these fast foods are killing
Oh
us.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you know what? There is, they say that the older generation is living longer
Yeah.
because they're getting more wise about what they need to
Exactly.
eat and not eat,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
right? And just to be clear, man, nobody killed anybody
Over
over
a
the
chicken
chicken
sandwich. Let's be clear
yeah,
about
man.
that.
I'm
Yes.
so tired of that headline.
I'm so tired of them. All, media's always trying to make us look like idiots.
For real.
It wasn't about a piece of chicken.
No.
It was about disrespecting someone that stood in the line for a long time and someone tried to cut them.
Right.
But when it comes to us, they're always trying to make us look like idiots.
Not to say that that's any better.
Right,
No,
that's
no,
not
no,
any better.
no, not to justify it, but
Right.
please say what it's about. Don't say it's about some darn chicken.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hate that. So yeah. So on to some, so that was some news. And then real quick, I just want to mention, that we have a new mayor for people who didn't listen to the first hour. And I don't know what this is, Mother Fair. Maybe we could talk about it another time. But there was an article in the Register about how this was the year of the white man in politics.
Oh God.
And in Connecticut, like white men just all won in all their cities and all their, any thoughts on that?
It's just about, to me, it's about as ridiculous as this thing about the chicken.
Yeah.
Because when Ellica ran against Hart, nobody said, "Oh, this is the year of the black women
Right.
getting in the race." He lost. Move on.
Right.
Try it again. Now he won. And for me, I feel I don't care whose face is up there, black, brown, whatever the face is, a white man's pulling the strings behind. So it is not a new thing about white men controlling stuff. White men been controlling stuff.
No doubt. All right. See, and I wanted some good commentary in the first hour. We didn't get too deep into it. That's all I needed. So I want to get into this, man. I mean, when I actually, you hit me up about it first, Leighton,
Yes.
about ending solitary confinement. Then I saw you put a post up a little bit shortly after.
Yes.
Talk about how you got into this and your personal connection to this.
Well, let's first say that it's Stop Solitary CT. That's the name of it, and solitary confinement is our motto. That's our goal. NCT particularly, but on a whole, nationally, just we want to get rid of it because it's deemed torture. And myself, I was personally affected by solitary confinement. A little bit of my backstory of the time that I've done in prison, and a lot of my time was in solitary confinement for minor infractions or fights and things of that nature, or trumped up charges where you get into something and then they say that it was an assault on a staff member, which is the reason why the particular jail that I'm talking about for Connecticut is Northern CI, which houses death row, administrative segregation, the SRG, which is the gang program. These are the places where they send you for punishment when you get into trouble in regular population. Now, once you get into trouble in this place, if you're already in there, which is 23 hours a day, you're locked up. It's a place called Incel inside of Northern. And in regular population, that would just be segregation. You would just go to SAG for a couple of days. You have a cellmate. You want to be chained up.
Okay.
Incel, go ahead.
No. So in regular population,
Uh-huh.
you have a cellmate, so you have some type of connection to people.
Absolutely.
You step outside sometimes.
Yep.
You're
Go to
not
rec.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
But incel,
Incel.
this is what this is.
This is hell. That's what they should call it, because you go there. More than likely, if you go there, you're gonna get sprayed up. Let's first say that the majority of people who go there, they get sprayed with mace. They put you in the shower for about a couple of seconds, supposedly to rinse off the chemicals. But what the water actually does, it activates the chemicals.
Mm.
So you're burning, you're chained up, and then you're placed into this dungeon, I would call it, for 3 days. And it's filthy in there because a lot of people who go in there have mental health issues. So their only outlet is to cut themselves and spread feces around the cells, and these cells are never clean. So you're going there chained up. You got a black box, you got handcuffs, you got a chain, shackles, and they make sure that the chain is like super short, so you're slunched over for 3 days. And You gotta eat out the trap door. They feed you out of a bag because you can't get regular trays and utensils and things like that. You gotta eat like this would be my food. They put the food in a cup.
Just so y'all know, he's holding up a small Dunkin' Donuts cup, so
Absolutely.
that would be the size of the amount of food.
Yep, they would put my rice, everything that they have for dinner or lunch, they would put it in here, and I gotta eat. Of course, they can't see me, but you can see like this, chained up. Find some way to get it to my mouth and eat this food. So I'm spilling food everywhere. Plus, I got feces and things on my fingers because.
And this is all day.
All day for
all
3
night,
days.
For 3 days.
Absolutely.
And for some people, though, when I was watching the documentary, people actually stay in here longer than 3 days, though.
Yeah.
They stay in there for years.
Yes. Well, not in cell. They don't stay in there for years. But in northern itself.
Okay.
They stay in there. But throughout the time of them being in northern, they're constantly being extracted by the COs. Excuse me, which we call a CERT team. They come, they extract you, and they're constantly going in and out, a revolving door of incel and 4-point restraints.
And when you say extract, you mean just like what? Just taking you out the cell and checking you, things of that nature?
Absolutely not. I mean, like a hostage situation.
Okay.
Like, their reasoning for coming in the cell was because the majority of people who have no other outlets or reprieves, what they do for to get some attention or to get some kind of, yes, I would say attention to their issue, is cover the window.
Okay.
So that's a form of protest. So if you cover the window, what they do is they give you a couple of warnings. Take down the paper. If you don't take it down, they come inside. They put like riot gear on, and they come in there with shackles and shields, and they come in there to whoop ass. That's what they do, and then pull you out, chain you up, spray you, and throw you in incel.
Now this is happening in northern.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is really where all that treatment is always happening. And what I saw in the documentary, they have no plans on ending that prison. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that is true that they may have said that in the documentary, but one of the really powerful things that happened is that the National Commission to End Torturing,
Yes.
they actually said that it's torture. Like a judge actually gave a written statement that it's torture. So it is possible that it could close. I think that was the sentiment of the correction officers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's their livelihood. They have a certain point of view as insiders. And it's not to discount that bad things don't happen inside prisons, but that's one of the things that, we're committed to doing and to raising and to finding some alternatives that are just better for people.
Right. And now you have a personal connection to this movement as well.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So 2 years ago, my brother Joshua was incarcerated. He has schizophrenia. He was diagnosed, I think, a couple years prior to his incarceration. And first of all, it's just heartbreaking to have a loved one incarcerated, period. But when I found out that there were not alternatives to incarceration for people with mental illness, I was really like just upset and floored, right? Because where he is now, he's in Garner Correctional in Newtown, Connecticut. And I was really surprised to find out that their in-cell time is 21 hours out the day. Now, they do have, opportunities for some activities, but for people with major mental illnesses, people period, but people with major mental illnesses are just more at risk for deterioration, for suicide. And, I remember calling like the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and everybody was like, it's unfortunate, this is the way it is. And I just, in my heart, I was like, this isn't right, and I'm gonna go to work to change this for all people who are incarcerated with mental illness.
So now what is your role now in this movement?
Yeah, so I'm on the steering committee with these lovely folks, Leighton and Barb, and so I'm a part of the media committee, so I help run the social media. We've helped design the logos, the t-shirts, just anything really to get the word out there.
Yeah. And
to just garner more attention and more support, because I don't think the public really realizes how damaging it is.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And Mother Fair, so where are you with this movement, and what are the steps that you're taking so far, and where do we have to go?
First of all, I have to say, this is real hard for me, and it gets harder when I listen to you, because My son was sent to Northern on the day he turned 17. He went to prison at 16. He wasn't even convicted. He was what they call a pretrial. So he was at the youth prison up in Cheshire. And so, of course, he had a hard time, first time ever going to jail, being in a cage in the first place, and then being treated like an animal, you know, the things that they do to people. And so he had a hard time. So what they did, they made up a charge, said he assaulted an officer. And that was enough to send him to Northern. They couldn't do it at the age of 16, so they waited to his 17th birthday. And the day he turned 17, they put him in there.
At 17 years
17
old,
years
they
old.
put him in the prison that Leighton was just
Northern.
talking about, Northern.
And it was hell. And I went through so much to get him out of here. I went to every organization that I knew, because, first of all, let me back up.
Yeah.
When he went in, he had mental health problems. He had depression. He was suffering from depression because several of his friends had got killed in the street, gunned down in the street. So he was trying to cope with that. And he ended up, he was in therapy. And when he got in trouble, the therapist wrote a letter to the judge and said, you know, don't put him in jail because, you know, he's in therapy, he's depressed, he's in therapy, let me keep working with him. And the judge, I'll never forget, Judge White's another judge that I fought to get out of New Haven, and I succeeded. He said he can get it in jail. And so that's why my son was in jail at that time, not even convicted. They put him through hell. And right now I'm like a pit bull with a raw meat in front of me and somebody trying to take it from me because you hurt my child. He is 38 now, and he continues to suffer from the torture that they did to him. I am not gonna stop until this is over. And that's why I have an urgency that other people in the group don't have, because I've been doing this for many, many years. I was doing it before my son even got there. I was doing it on a national level. It just got to be something in Connecticut recently. And like I said, he continues to suffer. He came out, he tried drugs, alcohol, like a lot of people do to try to cope. And he just continues to be in the hospital. Even at this current time, he's in the hospital again. He has his times when he can go do good, work, and you would never know anything ever happened to him. But then there's times when, you know, stressors of life break him down, and he's just completely paranoid, you know, just out of his mind. He has to be hospitalized. My thing also, not only in trying to get rid of Northern, I want to spend time getting someone who can file a lawsuit, not only for my son, but for the other sons that nobody's out there fighting for. When Connecticut or any state does this, harms a person, they should have to pay. United Nations said that after 15 days in these places, you have irrevocably hurt some people. They will never recover. My son, I had a conversation with him just a few days ago, and he said, Ma, I'll never be 100%. He said, I'm just fighting just to get to 80. That breaks my freaking heart. That's all. I can't talk right now.
Yeah. Leighton, I know there is a lot of this that people just aren't aware of, you know. And when we can, Mother Fair, I definitely want to go into, you know, any research and things that people need to be aware of, numbers, you know, statistics. I know you do your work, you do your due diligence and that. But I was listening to some of the letters, Leighton, that you were writing to your mother, you know what I'm saying, about how the COs treat you, you know, and the experience. And although it might be a lot for some people, they need to know. They need to know this is what human beings are experiencing.
Absolutely.
And in no way is this something where it's beneficial, you know what I mean? In no way does somebody come out better. So if you could just go into a little bit about, you know, your experience of like just how you're treated, not even just the environment, but just how the interactions that you have are with people.
Well,
with COs specifically.
it was a culture of just straight up torture. There's no other way. There's no other way to call the word the treatment but torture.
That's what it is.
It was just a culture, and the administrative remedies so that you're supposed to have to give you some type of reprieve, I would say, to the treatment you're going through, is flawed because the people who are in control of this is the administration. So
what type of remedies would those be?
like grievances, like
Okay.
it's a grievance procedure that you're supposed to go through. Let's say a CO came. Let's say a CO spit my food, which was a happening. That happened a lot. People CO spitting in your food in your face, and it's nothing. And telling you there's nothing you can do about it. What you gonna do? Cause you're in a cell. You locked up. You can't get to them. And if you try to do something, you're gonna get sprayed. Or they're gonna come and whoop your ass, like literally. Could I say ass in the morning?
We here. I think I'll find out later. I'll get the text from Juan.
I'm gonna get the fine. My fault. But listen.
Actually, I think that's Juan calling in right now.
My bad.
Literally, but I don't think it's because of that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Juan, we're gonna get to you 1 second. Go ahead, brother.
But yeah, it's just a culture of COs constantly beating on people and spitting on people and talking you crazy and making up charges and provoking you so that you can say something, so that you can get a ticket, so that you can go to SAG, tampering with your food, not responding to they have a button inside the cell that's supposed to be an emergency button. Now, I've been through plenty times where I had high blood pressure. Everybody who goes to jail all of a sudden gets high blood pressure.
And diabetes.
I never had any issues in the world. Now all of a sudden I have high blood pressure. So I was having like issues sometimes, like my heart or something. I would feel like something was wrong, and I would press the emergency button for medical, and they would cut the button off. And I would tell them I'm having an issue.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I'm gonna answer the phone real quick.
Yeah.
I think that's Juan,
Okay.
and I want to get back to this.
All right.
94.3. Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, so you know jump shot. Okay.
What's your name, brother? Well, thank you for calling through, brother. Anything else you wanna add to the discussion?
Four-pointer.
Hey, well, what did you? Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for calling through, man. I really appreciate you.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Salute to you,
to
brother,
you.
for surviving that, man.
Absolutely, brother. Make sure you join the movement.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Shout out to everybody who's listening.
Thank you.
God bless you, brother. God bless you, brother.
Whenever I talk about anybody who's come out of Northern and they say survivor, I always say like survivor, because are you really surviving?
Yeah.
I don't even see how you look like nothing ever happened to you.
And now you
And
can just
like I
look
said,
like
my son looks like that at times.
yeah,
But it doesn't always last.
right.
And the way he tends to do it many times is if he's not on medication, he's drinking alcohol, whatever. But surviving, I don't even know what that's like. Like, I haven't even survived my son being in there. I'm still going through 15, 20 years later.
Yeah.
When he was going through, I actually I had a relationship with built relationship with the commissioners at the time. So I went into the prison. I sat down with the staff who were medicating my son, because when I went to visit him, I look at him across and I'm saying, who is this person in front of me? I don't even know if he knows who he is right now.
Mm.
So like I said, I built a relationship. I went in, I talked to the staff, and I said, I want to see his file. They showed me his file. I'm a clinical social worker too, so I told him, I said, you're not gonna be talking over my head. I'll let you know that. So I'm looking at his chart and I'm saying, it depends on who's looking at him, is a whole different diagnosis.
Right.
And then you have all these meds, psychiatric meds, one on top of another, and there's so many side effects from the psychiatric meds. They're killing our men slowly just using the sites because they cause sexual dysfunction. So they're slowly killing our kids.
We got another phone call. Let's go to that. 94.3. Hey, we can't hear you too well, brother. Okay. Yeah, I'm not. I can't even really hear him that well, but yeah, no, the meds, and I think that's really important that you sit with the people who are giving the meds, who are having those interactions.
And most people don't have that. So my son was lucky that I went in and then they started changing the meds, bringing them down and all that stuff, taking blood tests, realizing there was stuff. There was levels in his blood that was too high, but everybody don't have that.
Right.
And that's why I stay in the movement, not for my son, because I'm going to take care of mine.
Yeah.
But I care about the ones who nobody's speaking about.
This might be Juan on the hotline. 94.3. Juan Castillo, how you doing, brother?
Juan.
Peace, what's going on, Juan?
Yes. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yes. That's it. Mm-hmm. I am. Yes.
God
Thank
bless
you,
you,
Mom.
Juan. Yeah. That's let's make sure we got that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. There's this perception, I think, that solitary confinement actually it prevents more crime and violence. And I just wanted to drop a couple facts about that. 66% of prisoners who are actually released from prison, they recommit crimes. They're rearrested. Whereas 92% of the people that are in solitary confinement recommit crimes when they're released to the community. So it's actually a lot of research showing that it actually makes people just more violent. There's cases nationally where people have gotten released straight from solitary confinement, and they actually killed people. Now it just goes to show you how detrimental it is to people's psyche.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So there's a lot of prisons around the nation who are doing away with solitary confinement, or they're actually modifying it, and they're finding that some of the things that they're doing are more effective.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
Modifying solitary confinement.
Well, there's some prisons where if you need to be in some type of segregation, where you're not with the general population, they're doing creative things like you can get an iPod in your cell, where you can have some sort of stimulation like that. And although it's not like totally eliminating it, I also come from a social work background. The whole point is when you're in a cell by yourself, it's sensory deprivation. Like Barb was saying, it leads to hallucinations, depression. People who are in solitary, they're 33% more likely to commit suicide than the general population. There's also some prisons who, instead of actually putting people in solitary, they'll take away other things. They'll take away maybe visits. They'll take away radio, just stuff like that. And that serves as sometimes it can serve as more of an incentive to people, if they know they're not going to get visits and stuff like that.
When did this, like, where was this might be too deep, but I'm just curious to know the origin of solitary confinement. Like,
the origin started with wonderful white people thought they were doing something good. The Quakers, their intent was if we put people in a room by themselves, they can think about what they did. And as usual, when people think they're doing something good intentions, it turned out to be something else. So it went from let them have some space to think about what they did to now we're going to actually torture them.
Right.
And that's how it originated. We have 44 supermax prisons. That's what Northern is. That's a prison inside of a prison. We have 44 of them around this country, and they're just growing. They're growing and growing and growing. It's not just being in jail anymore. It's about being actually tortured.
We got another phone call. Hopefully, it's not the same problem. 94 point. Oh. All right. So, what is the pushback you experience, though, or all of you, when you go and you're trying to end this? Who's saying no? We're not going to end it, and why?
The union more than anything. Because if right now, if you can keep people locked up like that, chained up for all those hours of the day, the workers, the correctional officers don't have to do any work. But now you start talking about we're gonna let them out of the cell a little bit more time of the day, or we're not gonna allow torture anymore. The unions are not gonna want that. When we went up in 2017 and worked with the commissioner, he was all with us all along the way that this needs to stop, start restricting solitary and to shut down Northern. He went right up with us to the end, and then the union stepped in and just blotted the whole bill. So what we ended up with after over a year of work, including bringing a replica of a cell to Hartford, what we ended up with is a bill that, at least because of my son testifying, they can't put anyone under 18 anymore. To me, that's nothing.
It's nothing.
That's reform, but that's what reform is. It's like doing the same thing in a different way, try to make it look more humane, and that's why I don't do reform work anymore. I'm for dismantling the system, and the reform, I'll leave that to somebody else.
Let's go to another. Okay, I don't know what they're doing over there. I apologize, audience, for that. So they only reform. They're really not changing anything.
No,
they're not taking anything away.
Yeah, no.
And from what I saw in the documentary, it costs $100,000 for one inmate for one inmate in Northern, as opposed to $48,000 for one inmate elsewhere.
Right.
And these are presented to them, and they're still pushing back on this.
Now, to touch on that, the documentary that you saw, that was from 2012. And I actually was in that last group of administrative SAG, the AS program, which they call them. That was supposed to be because of the work that Barbara, Yale, Hope Metcalf, the Yale law students was doing, as well as the David McGuire from the ACLU of Connecticut. They put in a lot of work to shut down Northern, and what they did was they didn't shut down Northern. They changed it to high bond.
Mm-hmm.
So they changed it to high bond, and then they took the same formulas and they put them in different jails.
Mm.
So they took AS. Well, these are the programs you have in Northern. You have chronic.
Mm.
Chronic is meaning, let's say you catch a couple of tickets, nothing major, but you
Yeah,
catch.
that's what my son went under.
Absolutely. And that's how I first got to Northern. I caught, I think maybe 4 tickets. Nothing major. I didn't assault anybody, but a couple 4 tickets they have a period of time. I think it's 4 months. If you catch 4 tickets within that time, you're eligible to go to Northern to chronic, and you have to be in chronic. I think I don't want to lie, but I think it's a 90-day program or something like that. Within there, they provoke you. They create all kinds of situations. They put people in situations where you're gonna catch a ticket, you're gonna get into a fight, assault, anything, and then now you're eligible to go to AS. And it's not an accident. They create these situations. They provoke things. They make things happen. They trump up charges. So then they have AS, and it's 3 programs: phase 1, 2, 3. 1, you're on full restraint status everywhere you go, showering with shackles on, and handcuffs. You take the handcuffs off in the cell and in the shower, a metal shower, and you stick your hands through there, and they take the cuffs off. But let me get back to my point. They took phone calls, chained up. Everywhere you go, you chained up. Yeah. They took all these models and they put them in Cheshire and Corrigan and McDougal, and that's what they did. They didn't stop. All they did was just move them around, and that's what she's talking about with reform.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but let me go back to the medication part. The medication part, when she said about people not being able to, she don't know how people survive, and myself, that's one of the main reasons why I was able to survive, and I don't seem as affected. And I say seem because it has had.
You still have your
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But the medication part, they push medication so much on people, like candy, like it's like, and I have a lot of friends that I won't say friends, but a lot of people that I've met in there that I built relationships with, who they came in and nothing was wrong with them at all.
Mm-hmm.
They got on this medication, or they were shot up with this thing that they shoot them when you're supposed to be out of control. They shoot you up with this shot, like I guess Thorazine or something, and it changes people's whole mental everything. It's like they're not the same. They think they're the same, but they're not.
And so you would refuse.
I was refusing. And then also, it's other medications that supposed to be for, let's say, muscle cramps or something. But those are antipsychotic medication.
They push that.
And they push that supposed to be for this pain or muscle cramps or whatever. And then you don't even know you're taking antipsychotic medication that's changing your mental frame.
And people don't understand that. Like people might see my son on the street, oh, he's all bugged out. You don't know the story behind my son being tortured at 17 years old. So yeah, he's a little bugged out, but he's bugged out because the system did it to him.
Y'all bugged out just from having a day at work that's bad.
Yeah.
He gonna be bugged out a little bit.
Yeah.
You want to share something?
Yeah, well, I just to play off their points, I think what everybody is pointing to is the culture in the Department of Corrections. They're listening to people in there like they're inherently criminals.
Right.
So
we were just talking about that last episode,
So as long as you listen to people as they're predisposed to violence, crime, they're crazy, there's not going to be a transformation in the system.
Right.
And you go into Garner and Newtown, on the wall it talks about rehabilitation, but in reality that's not the viewpoint. And I just wanted to point to, even in Garner, so I've done a lot of advocacy for my brother in Garner and speaking up, and sometimes he hears voices because he's schizophrenic, or he has schizophrenia rather, and they told me, at one time he got into a fight with his cellmate, and they were like, well, he's gonna go into the hospital because, he has schizophrenia, and we're clear that's his symptoms. And then he went into the hospital, and then I talked to the nurse and got an update, and she's telling me, well, they don't have any TVs, They don't have access to radios. So come to find out, the hospital, which they call the infirmary, is actually worse than being in the general population for someone with mental illness, because they have no stimulation in their cell, and they're in there for the same amount of time, the
Just
21
laying
hours.
there.
Yeah, just laying there.
And my son said they'll
Yeah.
have them in there naked or
Yeah.
naked,
Yeah.
chained down to a bed,
Yeah.
and
Four-pointed.
shoot you full of, if you don't accept their medication, they just shoot it in you. So
Yeah.
We're gonna try this one last caller. 94.3. Good morning. Mm.
mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm. Yeah. Thank you, brother. What's your name, brother? Michael. Thank you so much. God bless you, bro.
You know what? These are the people that really upset me. Like talking about bumping your gums. I've done a whole lot more than bumping my gums. And so a lot of the changes that are being made is because we went beyond bumping our gums.
Mm.
So people who haven't been a part of this struggle need to fall back a little bit and realize a lot of stuff has changed,
Right.
and a lot more stuff is gonna change, but we need us to be doing it. When he talks about stay out of the system, like that's easy, we have a school to prison pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of our kids got in the system from the school system
Right.
when they start putting cops in the schools. So when our kids had fights, like I did when we were younger, there's no more going to the principal, you're going to jail.
Going to
So it's
jail.
very easy. Once you
Start
get in
the
that
process.
system, they're not trying to let go of you.
Yeah. There's a lot of different factors that
Right,
play
and we
into
need
that.
we need to realize the reason why this continues to happen is because the people who are most impacted by this are going to be brown people,
Right.
and many people don't really care what happens to brown people because it ain't happening to their kids.
So I want to make sure that we are very clear about where people can go, how they can support,
Yeah.
especially other people who have been affected by this. Just can we make sure this information gets on the Facebook page? So who wants to?
The first thing we gotta know is Monday, November 18th from 6 to 8 at Christ Chapel New Testament Church at 220 Dixwell Avenue. We're gonna
Pastor
be
Lewis, yeah.
Pastor Lewis. He's gonna show this film, and we're gonna have a panel discussion about it. That's again November 18th, 6 to 8. We have our committee, Connecticut Solitary
Stop solitary.
Stop
CT.
Solitary
We're
Connecticut.
going to DC.
We're gonna have a community meeting, hopefully at the library, but we'll let you know update. That's gonna be on December 10th from 6 to 8. So,
We're going to DC. You can't
oh, I'm
forget
sorry.
that.
We're doing so much stuff.
Yeah,
Yes, we're
yeah.
all going to Washington on the
21st.
21st. We'll be up there to the 23rd
For a
talking to.
congressional meeting.
We'll be going to talking to congressional people up there around solitary confinement. So when you say we're bumping our guns, honey, you have no idea the work
You
we've
don't
been
even
doing.
know that.
Yeah,
We're
not
not
even
somebody
that.
with it.
And where can we go to, or if somebody wants to follow the page?
Yeah, so you're gonna follow us on Stop Solitary CT on Instagram and on Twitter. Same on Instagram and on Twitter.
Stop Solitary CT.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Alright.
Yep. And the website, you got it. If you go to our website, which I believe
It's
is
the same thing.
Yeah, which is the same.
StopSolitaryCT.com.
And we
Yeah.
actually have a survey for people who've been through solitary. We like to gather that information also.
Yeah.
We need the people who've been impacted to please come out. please get involved in this movement. We need to close down Northern. I don't care what they say about it won't happen. We need to close down Northern. We need to make sure that what they're doing doesn't go to other prisons.
God bless y'all for coming through. Queens, salute. King, salute. And yeah, I'm with y'all. All right.
Thank you.
All right. This is 94.3 WYBC, Electric Drum, and Moving Target. Peace.